Hello and welcome to another edition of Workforce Watercooler. My name is Leslie. Joining me as always is Brian. We both work for the South Central Workforce Development Board. Our president, CEO, John Swords, is heading to a meeting, you said?
Heading to a lunch meeting.
Heading to a lunch meeting. So it is just Brian and myself today. John's missing out, sadly. But we are going to sort of take something that you talked about last week and expand upon that. And if you missed it last week, one of the things that we were talking about, Brian made this great analogy to the summit, and it was in connection to the movie Jerry Maguire. And so we got a lot of comments on that, a lot of feedback, good feedback. And I thought it might be neat to explore the misconceptions and maybe some things that are accurate when it comes to TV and movies and jobs. So that's going to be our topic today, a little bit different, but I think it's more water coolery than some of the other things. You know, when you're at a water cooler, you talk about what you're watching, what movies you've seen recently. And I think in the media, work is portrayed in a much different way than it really is.
Yes. I've been to several police stations and I've never seen any of them that look like they do on TV.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm not saying I've been arrested. I'm just saying like I've been in them. And I don't see detectives working cases at all hours, like with daylight and then darkness behind them, right? Like everybody eventually goes home. But yeah, police work probably has a terrible rap with TV portrayal.
Well, one of the things, and it's interesting you brought that up, because one of my big things that I always focus on, and it drives my husband crazy because we'll be watching something and I sort of take him out of the moment because I'm commenting on a plot device. But I think it's funny the way in all these detective shows and spy shows and on and on and on, how they have what's known as a crazy wall, where they have all these photos and they have yarn and pins and it somehow makes sense to every single person involved on the case. But I would be extremely surprised if anyone in real life actually did that.
Well, I have worked at a place where there was a wall of people who were not allowed to come back on premises anymore, and they had blinds. They had a shade keeping it covered, and so if you wanted to see who made the wall, then they opened the blinds. And it was a discreet way for just those that needed to know, right. And then otherwise you could walk in there on any given day and not know what was going on the other side of those shades.
Right.
Maybe that's why we haven't seen it as much. Maybe it's behind the shades. We got to start looking.
Maybe more. I mean, maybe we just need to take some field trips and check it out. But what I'm always taken with is the amount of precision that they put into their big wall montages and the color coding systems, and it's just they're works of art.
Right.
I would be surprised if those were a real thing, but I do like them.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes though real life is crazier than TV. I've listened to a few radio stations where people are allowed to call in and talk about something that happened at work, or some context of an event that happened, dealing with customers, or
right.
dealing with the public, dealing with a coworker, and it is like an episode of The Office. Some of the antics that happen and just the way people behave. Of course, now we've got viral videos seeing some of that stuff too, but that's when it goes sometimes kind of mean. But
yeah.
Well, yeah. What movie, what TV show comes to mind for you that, like, if what do you think TV wise, what would be the best job to have, and what do you think would be the worst one?
Oh gosh. I mean, I think, and this is overall, not like a specific movie or TV show, but for me, my dream job would be to be like a rock star. That would be my dream job, because the way it's portrayed on movies and TV, I mean, it is pretty awesome. You don't really have to practice that much. You get up and the
Right.
world loves you. You always, I mean, I think that would be a pretty awesome job. But my complete lack of musical talent keeps me from pursuing that dream. I think that one would be pretty cool. Um, Anything I've seen on Dirty Jobs is probably the worst. I'm not a fan of like gross things, but I will
Yeah.
tell you, about a month ago, we had an unfortunate incident here involving our Roomba, the robot vacuum, and our dog Loretta, who left us a surprise that we didn't know about while we weren't home, and so the Roomba, took all that on a journey all over the house. So
But that made you think of Dirty Jobs, huh? When that happened,
yes,
you're like, somebody
yes,
should be filming this.
yes. Oh, nobody should have been filming it, because it was. I mean, it was not pretty, nor were pretty as that was taking place. What about you?
I bought my parents one of those vacuums last year, and as I was telling somebody about it, they're like, "Oh, have you seen these videos on YouTube of like when animals do their business and then those Roombas take over?" I'm like, "No, it hadn't even occurred to me. I don't have any pets, so I hadn't even thought about it."
Well, it's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing. And I did see where they have come out with one of the robot vacuums that is supposed to be able to detect that and go around it. But it's like, I mean, it is crazy high. So I'm just not gonna have it on like automatic settings. That's what the problem was. We were gone and I had it set to vacuum at a certain time every day.
Yeah.
So what about you? What do you
Oh,
think
man.
when you think about movies and TV? What looks like a really cool job?
I mean, I always wanted to fly fighter jets. That's one thing I wanted to do in high school, and I just think yeah. So I don't know what. I don't want to say Top Gun's my favorite movie, because it's not. I don't want to keep giving Tom Cruise more credit than I think he deserves on my life, but or in my head. But it's I think I've always enjoyed roller coasters and all of that. But when I heard that you had to have 20/20 vision, and then I had to start wearing these things like late high school, early college, that kind of killed the hopes of being able to do that. But I think doing something in the air with, I mean, especially high speed, would be phenomenal.
Right, because you don't. I mean, you wouldn't have the whole, oh, I'm gonna hit a wall, or I'm gonna, I mean, because you've got, and I know there are all kinds of safety precautions, but it just seems safer to go faster in the air because there's
Yes.
not as much stuff going on.
Yeah.
What about awful jobs?
Man, my heart goes out to the people that have to work at a call center, but I think especially if you have to do that through texting, like I'm all the time trying to dispute a credit card charge or something, that like a late payment or something that, and I don't want to say all the time, it makes it sound like I don't pay my bills on time, but whenever I've had to do that, I will try to engage the bot for as long as I can until they give me a real person, and they're always so patient, and I'm sure they hear such stuff every day. And I can imagine if people are willing to say it on phone, they're probably willing to type it too. So I would think
Absolutely.
that would take a tremendous amount of patience.
Absolutely. What have you ever thought about characters that, oh, this person has a really good work ethic?
Gosh. What comes to mind when you ask me that, Leslie, is I remember hearing a presentation, and I've given the presentation before about work ethic, and there was a survey that was done, and it said the people that represent on TV the best work ethic when people were polled were like the Kardashians. So, which, I mean, I've never seen an episode. Yeah, exactly. Right. That reaction. It's like, are you serious? So, man, I'd have to think about that one.
That is really surprising.
Yeah. 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 No, I don't have cable, and I haven't had cable in years, and so then I just stream stuff and see things that
Well, I
Um,
mean, I asked the question, but I think it's hard
yeah.
to find somebody, like a character who has a really admirable, strong work ethic. And that may be, I mean, not a huge, but sort of a underlying an underlying source of the idea of work ethic today. There aren't a lot of good examples,
Yeah.
just in running through my mind. I was thinking maybe Andy Griffith, but I mean,
Yeah.
what was that? I mean, that's a very old show. We should be able just to go, oh, this person, this person, this person.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I've encouraged people in the past to put comments on these videos. So yeah, let's hear from the public. Let's hear from our viewers who they think has the best and worst ethic from TV and media, movies. And we'll tell you if we agree or disagree with that.
Yeah.
We can
I
create
don't.
some
I mean,
discussion.
I think this character is horrible. This is a horrible person. When it comes to morals. But if you've ever watched Mad Men, have you ever watched that? When Don Draper makes a pitch, when he's trying to pitch
Yeah.
whatever his ideas, he is the smoothest, like, best at it you will ever see. I mean, Don Draper could sell me anything, and I'd buy a million. I would buy a million of whatever he was selling.
Yeah.
So not necessarily a good work ethic, but he's very good at what he does. And if you haven't seen Mad Men, if you're watching and you haven't seen it, he's in advertising, and so he's pitching like ad campaigns and things like that. So I think he's really good at what he does. I'm still thinking about the whole Kardashian thing.
Oh, I know.
Maybe
Every time I do a presentation, people have that reaction. But it's like, well, that's what a poll said. That's when they were asked, that's who they thought had a good work ethic.
maybe it's because they're like posting stuff all the time.
Yeah, I think people maybe misunderstood ethic for just attention.
Yeah.
Who gets the most attention?
Well, just FYI, at a Prince concert, like Kim Kardashian was there. And so she came up on stage and was dancing, and just sort of like halfway she was just like, oh, I'm too cool to dance, and Prince booted her off the stage.
He changed his mind, huh?
That's right. He's like, hey, no, that didn't get it. So anyway, let's see. To end, what is, and it doesn't have to be your all-time favorite, what is one of your favorite songs about work?
Oh, God.
It doesn't have to be your all-time, just a good song. What's a good song about work?
Leslie, you put me on the spot.
Okay, can I tell you
Yes.
one, and it has a
Yes.
story that goes along with it?
Okay, yes.
I think a great one is, and it's very obvious, I think a great one is 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton. I mean, that's just a great song. But I do have a funny story that goes along with it. When I was in elementary school, a friend and I, we were at her house, and her parents had gone out for a few hours. So it was one of the first times we were there alone. And so we were like, oh, we're so cool and stuff like that. And then we started hearing noises and got scared. And we were sitting on our bed with a BB gun, ready to just, take out whoever might be coming for us. And it was really quiet, and we didn't realize her stereo was on. And so we're sitting there, we're scared, and all of a sudden 9 to 5 starts, and it's like boom, 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 boom. So 9 to 5, taken out of context, has a very scary opening.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Has that bought you enough time to give me a song?
Yes. So I think closing time is probably one of those ones, right? Like I remember being in college and when that song came out and working at a pizza place, and we would sort of half sing that.
Yes.
And it was one of those things where if you've ever had a job where, you know, you're waiting for customers to leave before you can leave, I mean, that's kind of excruciating when somebody's kind of lingering and hanging out. And that line, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I mean, everybody, I think, can relate to that one when you've had one of those jobs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, as Brian said, we will take your comments. We're interested in seeing, you know, do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have other ideas? But I do think the way working is portrayed in media, it does have an impact on everyone. And, you know, maybe we're not aware of how much of an impact. So even though the topic's light, I think it definitely is worth a conversation.
Yep, and we want to hear feedback. So
That's right. That's right. All right. Thanks again for joining us, and we will catch you next time.
Bye, everybody. Loretta says peace out too. She says, quit talking about me on social media.